Welcome back. Now that I've covered Uncle Tupelo top to bottom, including all of its offshoots, bands, related bands, alt country, scene that I still talk about 20 years after it's sort of, I don't know if it slowed down, but the 90s was late 90s, mid to late 90s was really its peak period. We'll put that aside for a bit, maybe a while, and I am going to spend this video talking solely about Bruce Springsteen. Probably my biggest influence, not probably, definitely my biggest influence. I can trace Bruce back to every period of my life. Early years, when I would visit my father in northern New Jersey, he was a monster, or a massive Bruce Springsteen fan. In his living room, he had sort of an oversized copy of Born to Run. It obviously didn't play, it was just a novelty item that he had bought in some store in Manhattan. And it was massive, and it was on the wall. And beside that was a promotional poster for The River, which was framed. Late 70s, early 80s, Springsteen was everywhere in our lives. When we were driving around in cars, I saw my first show in '85, first Springsteen show on the Born in the USA tour. In the house, Bruce was always playing. So then all the way through high school, I started seeing Bruce a lot on the Lucky Town Human Touch tour in '92, '93. I think they played 10 shows, or Bruce played 10 shows, because he wasn't with the E Street Band at the time, at what was then the Brendan Byrne Arena at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. I think I went to 8 of them. Saved up all my summer earnings just to see Springsteen. And it was well worth it, some of the best memories of my life. In college, I used to quote Bruce Springsteen in many of my essays and papers, usually to pretty good effect. I got some pretty good feedback from professors at the time. A lot of it was pulled from Darkness on the Edge of Town, which I was listening to a lot at the time when I was finally learning about politics and human rights and race relations and things that are still dear to me today. A lot of that was sort of pulled out of Springsteen's records and songs. So what I'm going to do, I have a lot of Bruce Springsteen stuff, and I think what I'll do is I'm going to talk about a few shows that I saw. I found a lot of ticket stubs. I have my ticket stubs from, you don't really get ticket stubs anymore, right? They're usually on your phone, your tickets. But I used to collect them, and I still have most of the ticket stubs that I had sort of amassed over the years. They're in a closet, and I pulled a bunch of the Springsteen ones, so I'll talk about that. And other media, books, live shows, and then I will count down my top 10 favorite Springsteen records from 10 to 1. So start thinking what you think those might be. And why has Bruce been on my mind? I mean, I listen to Bruce all the time, but obviously there was talk this week that it sounds like Bruce and the E Street Band will not be touring in 2020. Don't know the reason. Bruce, although he does more interviews, or he has done more interviews over the last decade plus, he's still pretty, he keeps a lot of this stuff under wraps, which is one of the things I've always loved about him. He's not as outspoken about things, about his personal life, and if they're not touring, why they're not touring. They just don't. But I'm hoping that changes maybe in 2021, or maybe they're still going to make it in 2020. And also, just this week, this past Friday, a number of his records were either issued for the first time or reissued on vinyl. Here's The Rising. I got 4 of the 5. Devils and Dust I did not get because I already have it on vinyl, so didn't really need the reissue. Probably get it someday, but this right here, The Rising, I did not have on vinyl. I think there may have been a small pressing of it when it came out in 2002. This is a great record. This is the one that I was most excited about. Tracks. These are the 18 tracks that he put out, I believe, as a CD in advance of the full tracks release, which was like a 4 CD or maybe even more box set. And I really wish he'd put all of tracks out on vinyl, because I really, really love this collection. But this is great. It's got one of the first early recordings of Growing Up, Loose Ends. I mean, there's so many songs on here. It's unbelievable that these did not make proper records. Where the Bands Are, Rendezvous. These are just, how did The Promise not make a record? I mean, that's up there with Bruce's best song, Janie Don't You Lose Heart. I think that just missed making Born in the USA, but this is a great collection. Live in Dublin with the Seeger sessions. This is a bulky one. A lot of vinyl in here. A lot of great artwork from this period. I love this period. I saw Bruce on this tour out here in California. So Live in Dublin, and then finally, the only one I haven't opened yet, which I'll probably open tonight, Live in New York City. I just got this one today. I wasn't gonna get it and then realized how much I loved it. It's a little bit pricey, but it's also very weighty. Is that a word? It's heavy. So I'm looking for, this has got American Skin, 41 shots. Such a great track. And I love this live show. So we'll throw this on after I'm done with this 4-hour video. So first off, figure I'll talk about a couple of the ticket stubs that I found. The first one right here, if you can see that, that's from the 2016 The River. So that would be the 25th anniversary of The River. The River came out in 80. So yeah, 80, no, that's 35 years, not 25. I saw a bunch of these shows. This was the tour that I saw in Norway. I saw Bruce in Trondheim, Norway, which is one of, if not, it's one of the 2 or 3 best Springsteen shows I've ever seen. It was just a remarkable place to be, and it was raining. They opened up with Who'll Stop the Rain and then Badlands. I was with a good friend of mine. I had never been to Norway. Trondheim, I believe, is in central Norway, and Oslo is southern Norway. And we saw them in both cities. Trondheim was first, and if I remember correctly, we met somebody. The whole town was taken over by Springsteen. I remember we drove in, I think we had a rental car, and you could hear Bruce coming out of all the pubs and restaurants right when you drove into the town. And somebody had told me that the largest concert that town had ever seen prior to Springsteen was Elton John, and the attendance was right around 15,000 people, and there were 40,000 people at the Bruce show. Those numbers might not be exactly right, but they're close. It was an incredible show. I actually got emotional at the show. So that was the River tour. Right here, Paramount in Oakland, California in 2005. That's the Devils and Dust tour. A great Springsteen record and tour that I saw just one show, I think, on that tour. Here is 2000. You can't really see that. 2000 at MSG in New York, June of 2000. So this, I think, was right after, this is right when the E Street Band got back together. This here, going back, 1993. This is at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, June 24th, 1993, the Concert to Fight Hunger. I think there were more, no, this was just Springsteen. I was thinking of the Walden Woods show that I saw at Madison Square Garden, which was Sting and Peter Gabriel and Jimmy Buffett, and that's not this. I don't remember this show, 93. The Lucky Town tour that I talked about, there's World Tour 92, 93. Saw a ton of these shows. This is August of 92. I referenced the Seeger Sessions tour. Here's the stub from 2006. This is out at a pavilion in Northern California. Again, Lucky Town tour, 92, 93. As I mentioned, I saw a ton of these shows. And the stub that I hold dear the most, the first show, first time I ever saw Bruce, $17.50. Giant Stadium, August 21st, 1985. We were in section 110, so I think that's really close to the floor. Row 2, seat 23. Changed my life. My father brought me to this show, and I will be forever grateful for that. What a day that was. All right, now those are the shows. I've seen many, many more. I think every Springsteen tour. I missed the Tunnel of Love tour. So I was young. I was only 22, 23 when Tunnel of Love came out. But every subsequent tour, I'm pretty sure I didn't see Ghost of Tom Joad. I don't think he toured much on that tour. But all throughout the 2000s, 2010s, I've seen him. He did those shows in Giant Stadium when he played full albums, top to bottom. I saw Born in the USA with my buddy Dave. That was incredible. I think I saw a few more, but there's so many. But now let's jump into books. We'll keep this short, but obviously Born to Run, Bruce's memoir. I have 2 copies that are signed by Bruce. I never thought I would have Bruce's signature on anything. As a kid, I dreamed of having Bruce's signature. Obviously live in a much more accessible world now where you can go on to eBay or just sort of search around and you can find these things. Finding Bruce's signature used to be very, very difficult. But with Born to Run, I saw a reading up in San Francisco, and I bought a copy of this. I believe it was tied to the reading. You could buy a copy and it would be signed. And then you can see back there, that is the one that they only released. It was pricey. They only released not too many. I think it was via Barnes & Noble. And that's a beautifully sort of bound copy that is also signed by Bruce and is a treasured possession of mine. But my favorite Bruce book, and there are many, but the one, I read this a long time ago, but the one I remember enjoying the most is It Ain't No Sin to Be Glad You're Alive, which was written by Eric Alterman. I remember my older brother got me into this. I think I read it twice in a row. And I don't really remember what it was. I think there was it was a lot of politics, and I may read this again. This was a great read. Came out in is it 99? It Ain't No Sin to Be Glad You're Alive, The Promise of Bruce Springsteen. Came out in 99. Eric Alterman. If you haven't read it and you're a Bruce fan or you're not a Bruce fan, I highly recommend it. Live shows. So in addition to the ones that I've seen, and he has many live DVDs, and this one is by far my favorite. Live in Barcelona. This came out, it looks like the show is from 2002. The crowd in Spain is just incredible. They're singing along to every song. It's just a beautiful experience. So if you can find this, I don't know if it's on streaming services, but if you can find it, it is worth it, especially on like a Saturday night. Well, that's what I would do on a Saturday night. You maybe not. But this is just this is what I'm gonna watch after this. I just got a new TV, so let's test it out. Live in Barcelona. If you can find it, pick it up. Live albums that have been released. He has many. He has live from the Born in the USA tour, live 84, 85. A ton of, there's live in New York City, there's the Seeger sessions. My favorite, far and away, and it's probably my favorite live album of all time by any artist, and that includes all the great Dylan bootleg series that have come out, and I have most of them on vinyl, or the ones that are available on vinyl, 1966, bootleg series 1 through 3, 1975, it goes on and on. But Bruce Springsteen at Hammersmith Odeon, 1975. Look at that shot. I love that shot. Bruce with a winter cap on. This was his first show in London. There was a ton of press there. It was right after, I think I mentioned this on an earlier video, right after he had been on the covers of Newsweek and Time in the same week, which I think had never happened before for any person. The opening of Thunder Road, I think, captures the spirit of everything that I love about music. There's sort of a tension in the air. Maybe the crowd's not really sure what to make of this guy. He's the next Bob Dylan. And, to me, he was not the next Bob Dylan. He's a totally different artist, but there's nobody like Springsteen, nobody like Dylan either. But Thunder Road and then an explosive 10th Avenue Freeze Out. This is just, man. It says on here, I guess they didn't release many of these on vinyl. I think this was a record store day. It says I got number 730. I don't know what I wonder what the total count is, but if I were to grab one record running out of the house, this would probably be the one, or it's very close. I just adore this album. We're about to get to the top 10. But I did want to mention this. I haven't opened it yet. Springsteen on Broadway. Since I did see this show, I saw one of the first few shows. I still have the cup from the beer that I had whatever I had at this show. I flew to New York City for this. Saw it with one of my closest friends who I grew up listening to Springsteen with. We were online for drinks right next to Tim Robbins, which was cool. It was good. I went into it as a hardcore Springsteen fan with a little bit of, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I always liked Bruce's songs to tell the stories on their own without Bruce having to tell the stories of the songs. So I enjoyed it. It's not up there, it's not my favorite Bruce moment. There's too many of those that for me were sort of more profound and sort of hit home more. I liked it, but I can't say that I listen to or watch this all that much. I think I'll come to appreciate it more over time. But Springsteen on Broadway, I'm glad he did this. It was, and I think he did it just around the right amount of time. It was about a year and a half, and I think there was talk of him potentially doing it in London and different parts of the world, and I'm sort of glad that he hasn't. Maybe he will one day, but I'm glad that he just kept it to New York and then for now wrapped it up. All right, so my top 10. These are my 10 favorites, not necessarily the 10 best, although I think they're pretty close. At number 10 is The Rising. Came out in 2002. I think if he would have cut 3 or 4 tracks from this, it would be a near perfect record. What tracks would I cut? I would cut maybe Worlds Apart, maybe Let's Be Friends, although I kind of got to like Let's Be Friends. It's really the middle of the album, so side 2 of 4 on here. Counting on a Miracle, Empty Skies, pretty good song, Worlds Apart, and Let's Be Friends. If you go through the top, Lonesome Day, End of the Fire, Waiting on Sunny Day, Nothing Man, all good. And then Mary's Place is no good. A lot of people like that song. I don't like that song at all. It might be that and what's the song on, I can't remember. Mary's Place is one of my least favorite Springsteen songs. And then the final few tracks, You're Missing's great, The Rising's great, Parasite's pretty good, My City of Ruins is spectacular. Number 10. Number 9 is Bruce's first record, Greetings from Asbury Park, came out in 1973. This copy came out in 1973, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is an original. Slightly uneven, although I've come to appreciate even the tracks that some people would pan. So tracks like The Angel, the rest is pretty strong. Growing Up, Does This Bus Stop at 82nd Street? It's Hard to Be a Saint in the City. Spirit in the Night, For You, Lost in the Flood. Those are all great songs. Maybe this should be higher. Now I feel like what's coming next should be before this, but it's too late. Number 9, 1973's Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. Number 8, or 9, just came out, Western Stars. I was almost shocked at how much I liked this record. I didn't expect a whole lot. I don't know why. Great sort of this is like his Bakersfield feel. But this record, outside of one or two tracks, I love it. I play it all the time. The live album that came out that followed this, that I think he played at, or he recorded in his barn in New Jersey, is fantastic. But these are Tucson Trains. It's a pretty straightforward record, but a really great one. Stones, that's my favorite song on the record. Hello Sunshine, Western Stars, Hitchhikin'. I love this record. So this just came out. This is 2019. Western Stars at number 8. This is where there's a big sort of leap in terms of Springsteen's catalog. From 7 to 1, they could almost be interchangeable, and they're all 5 stars. These are all perfect records in my view. That's with one exception, which when I get there, I'll tell you what that is. 7, Born in the USA. His biggest record, sold millions, tens of millions of copies. Bruce went from critics' darling to a pop hero, or a huge pop star. Great. I remember I never liked Cover Me. I would always skip that track, and now it's one of my favorite Springsteen songs. But Bobby Jean, No Surrender, My Hometown just reminds me of my childhood. I'm on Fire, which has been covered by so many people, Johnny Cash, many folks. Working on the Highway, Darlington County, Downbound Train. It's perfect. Number 7, Springsteen's Born in the USA. Number 6, Nebraska. Every Springsteen fan knows this story. Bruce was getting pretty popular. Born to Run had done well. The River had done well, and I think the label, Columbia, was hoping that he would put out sort of a big pop record. And he recorded this on like a 4-track, or I don't even know what that means. I don't know anything about recording. In his basement, I believe, in New Jersey, and it's very dark, and a lot of sort of Johnny Cash, Woody Guthrie overall feel to it. But this is, again, perfect. Every song on here is great. The songwriting is incredible, and Bruce's ability to sort of put himself in the shoes of other people, people who are struggling, is, to me, like no one else, probably in the history of rock and roll or music. This is just a remarkable record. Nebraska. Next, at number 5, this is the record that over time, a lot of Springsteen fans consider his greatest, his best record. I'm not there. As I said, 7 through 1 can be interchangeable. This followed Born in the USA and was not the hit that Born in the USA was, but Tunnel of Love, which is the record that he recorded following, I believe, following the demise of his first marriage, which didn't last long, to Julianne Phillips, the actress. Tougher Than the Rest, Walk Like a Man, One Step Up, Brilliant Disguise, Tunnel of Love, When You're Alone. Just a great record. And this is, I don't know what to say. I just love this record. I play it all the time. One of the great breakup albums or divorce albums ever recorded. Number 4, and this is the one that it's 4.5 stars, because there are some tracks that I wish Bruce had not included on this record. The River. My mother bought this for me when I was very young, $7 at a yard sale. still have this copy. It's the only, well, no, I think the box set reissues that came out a few years ago on vinyl, I have this in there, but this is the one that I listened to. My mother bought me, I believe it was this and the Grateful Dead's American Beauty. American Beauty was $10. And it was when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, or maybe a little bit later, probably 12. But there are a few tracks I wish didn't make this record, like You Can Look But You Better Not Touch. That's not his best work. I Want to Marry You. A lot of people bash that song. I don't really it's okay. Crush on You. I'm a Rocker. But the good songs are spectacular. Drive All Night, The Price You Pay, Out in the Street, Two Hearts, Independence Day, Sherry Darling, The Ties That Bind, Fade Away, Stolen Car. You get a lot of Springsteen purists that would say that that's the best song he's ever written. It's certainly up there. So at number, where are we at? 4, The River. Number 3, Born to Run. His third record came out in 1975, the record that really blew up Springsteen's musical career, and some would say saved his musical career after 2 records that did not sell well. Born to Run did. I think it did pretty well. I know it has over the years. This 8 songs, all great. Thunder Road, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Night, Backstreets, Born to Run, She's the One, Meeting Across the River, and Jungle Land. This even has more meaning to me. I recently, a few months ago, left a job that I had been at for a very long time, a job that is incredibly dear to me, and best job I've ever had. And at my going away party, folks on my team got me a copy, or not on my team, it was just people from different, I don't mean that sounds like I'm saying I was very popular, but there were people beyond just the folks on my team at this gathering. I don't know why I'm trying to still explain this. And they had bought me a vinyl copy of Born to Run, not this one. And on the inside, which I'm not going to show because it's personal, they all signed it and left little anecdotes or notes for me. And it was one of the kindest and most thoughtful gifts I've ever received. So to the folks in my past job, thanks again. It's going up on a frame soon, and it meant the world to me. So that's 3. 2, maybe a little bit of a surprise here. Bruce's second record also came out in 1973. His first 2 records came out in the same year. The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle. I find this to be an incredibly underrated record. There are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks, all great. E Street Shuffle, 4th of July, Sandy, Kitty's Back, Wild Billy's Circus Story, which is among my favorite Bruce songs, Incident on 57th Street, Rosalita, New York City Serenade. Great shot of them. It's probably in Jersey, somewhere at the shore maybe. Bruce's second album, Wild the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle. Man, this is a great one. Number 1 should be obvious. It's not Human Touch. And I should say that Lucky Town just missed it. Lucky Town's my number 11, so but just so you know, almost made the cut. Number 1, which is also my number 1 across any artist, 1978's Darkness on the Edge of Town. This great shot on the back. This was after Born to Run and before The River. Badlands, Adam Raised a Cain, Promised Land, Prove It All Night. No record in my life has sort of made me think more than this record has. The only other records, like the Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, is up there. The Wilco Yankee Hotel Foxtrot was a very cerebral experience for me, but just in terms of Factory reminded me a lot and still does of my stepfather, who's a police officer and worked as hard as anybody I've ever met in my life, and played a large part in raising me, and Factory helped me to sort of understand him. The Promised Land, just giving me hope when maybe I needed a little bit of a injection of hope. The Promised Land certainly helps. Racing in the Street just reminds me of New Jersey. I remember my brother and I, this must have been late 90s or early 2000s, just one day hopped in the car and drove down to near the Stone Pony in Asbury Park. And I remember we were driving, listening to Racing in the Street, and the line about Kingsley Street, is it Kingsley Avenue or Street? And my brother pointed up and we were on that street. That was, I still get a chill when I think about that. It was the song he did not know. He looked up, and as Bruce sang the line, we were driving down that road. If you don't know Darkness on the Edge of Town, I would give it a listen. To me, music, politics, storytelling, a band just at its peak, it does not get better than this. I think that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you don't like Bruce Springsteen, maybe you didn't. If you love Springsteen like I do, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your favorites, your favorite live shows, your favorite books. So if you're watching, feel free to let me know. And that's it. Hope you have a nice weekend.